The NFL has come out in opposition of a religious freedom bill passed by the Georgia legislature. The league is warning the measure could hurt Georgia's chances to host an upcoming Super Bowl. The law is designed to protect the rights of people who have religious objections to being involved in same-sex marriages. Joining us now with more on this story is Garland Hunt, senior pastor of the Father's House in Atlanta. He's been a vocal advocate for religious freedom issues. Garland, why do you think the NFL feels the need to get involved in this issue?
Well, actually, they were baited by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Once the bill passed the legislature, the liberal media, they called them up. NFL didn't call them, they called NFL. And they pushed them to say, what would you do if a bill like this passed? They defined it for them, they explained it for them, and then immediately Goodell came out with a statement that represented NFL that said that we would, could not consider coming to Atlanta or to Georgia if a bill like this passed for a Super Bowl.
Do you think opponents of this religious freedom bill understand what it does? Explain the bill for us briefly.
Well, actually, probably not, because what has happened is the media has pretty much defined it. And then those on the left have been the ones that have told them what the impact would be, when it's actually not that way at all. Actually, this particular bill, even for them, is a safe bill. We really want a much stronger bill with much heavier legislative parameters in terms of helping us as human beings and as citizens of Georgia. But in reality, this is a combination of what's called a Passive Protection Bill and RFRA, which is, of course, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And Religious Freedom Restoration Act was there simply to allow the state to have to prove a compelling state interest anytime it would somehow violate a person's religious liberty or religious freedom just based on the First Amendment. Our goal was to have a whole First Amendment Defense Act here, but they chopped away at it and chopped away at it. So basically, we have a very refined and specific bill that really is not challenging. It basically just protects the faith-based businesses and the faith-based organizations. And of course, it protects us against the state coming in with anything less than a compelling state interest. And then, of course, it also protects ministers from having to actually rent out to or perform a same-sex wedding.
Hundreds of companies in the group called Georgia Prospers are trying to bully Governor Nathan Deal into vetoing this bill. Are there any voices speaking out for the bill?
This is the thing that has been a little bit alarming. Many of the national, even Christian organizations recognize that the bill did not go as far as we wanted it to go. But clearly, it's a huge step because without RFRA, and they understand that the state can come in and take over our freedoms. And that even though the First Amendment is actually the document that allows us to have religious freedom. So really, it's a good start. And also with the Passive Protection Act, we knew that this was limited, but we did stretch it so it would increase the businesses and the faith-based businesses. So if a person particularly has a conscious belief, they're not going to be forced to have to operate outside of that based upon their school, if it's a faith-based school, or even if it's a faith-based operation, like Sundays, if no one can demand them to work on a Sunday, or something that regarding to their religious beliefs. So it does provide protections, not as broad as we wanted, but no one is defining it. They don't even really care what it means. They're just listening to all of the excitement that the media and that some of the LGBT community has allowed to define it, and they're saying this would be terrible for their cause.
Does America have to make a choice between religious freedom and prosperity?
Absolutely not, because our pocketbook should not dictate our religious freedom. See, religious freedom is an inalienable right. It's given from God, and therefore the Constitution embellishes what God has already given us. So the economy shall not dictate the freedoms that we've received from the Lord, as well as from our Constitution. So in no way shall our pocketbook dictate our religious freedom.
Okay, Garland Hunt, the senior pastor of the Father's House in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you, Garland, for joining us.
Thank you very much.